and welcome to another edition of Bald&Balding. We're talking to the SPFBO 9 finalists, and we have the man who just seems to be in all the semifinals or finals for SPFBO, and that is the man, the myth, the legend, Clayton Snyder. I remembered your last name there at the last second.
I
was wondering if you were stalling. It's like, oh my God, tell me you remembered his name.
Starting off swimmingly, as always.
Fantastic. Where are you joining us from, Clayton?
I am in North Dakota, in Bismarck, actually.
Oh, fun. Yeah. So it's
on purpose?
15 degrees?
It's actually been about 40 or 50 for the past week.
Oh, short weather.
Yeah.
Nice.
For us, yes.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah. I've been cold. Yeah, I get it.
Oh.
So this is not your first go around with SPFBO, is it?
No. I think I was started it about 5 years ago because I skipped a year. So, started it about 5 years ago.
Is this the furthest you've ever progressed?
It's a tie. The last time I had a finalist berth was with Michael Fletcher.
Okay. When was that?
Was it last year or the year before last? I believe it was the year before last.
So you do you have like still all of these different email group or Discord groups or whatever of all the SPFBO finalist secret groups?
I have two, yeah, and it's the other one has quieted down. Hi, Connor.
I was gonna say, is there a similarity in the discussion in the groups? Because we've been talking about that a lot with the last few people, and everybody says it's all talked about. You're all talking about food all the time.
Yeah, I'd say the last SPFBO group was really talking about just the unending nightmare that is waiting for reviews and the process of going through those reviews. And this group seems to be more focused on food. So
I guess if you got to talk about something you have no control over or food, I guess food is the way to go.
Right.
So you have a bit of a food background, yeah? They said that you did.
Yeah, I mean, I've worked in the food industry. I just like to cook, though.
So do you watch food shows?
Do I? Anthony Bourdain is probably my favorite.
Okay, so that's what I was going to get. Are you more of like a Hell's Kitchen guy or a British baking show guy, or what's one of the other ones? Top Chef guy.
Oh yeah, I don't usually watch a lot of competitions. I used to watch Alton Brown quite a bit. Just his approach, his scientific approach to like gastronomy was always really interesting to me. So, and then I got into Anthony Bourdain and really enjoyed his shows about his travels and the way they handle different cultures handle cooking or handle the food itself and all of that. So
we'll stay on this for a while. CM says, "What's your favorite food to cook?"
Yeah.
Shouting
in all caps again.
Right.
Stop yelling at us.
Probably pasta from scratch.
Nice.
The sauces and everything else. I just really enjoy the method of making them, and even the pasta itself I've made from scratch a few times, and it's just very work intensive, but it's also like you can just turn off your brain and do the work and really be part of what you're doing at the time without having to worry about external stresses and all that.
Yeah. I mean, it's just doing something for the sake of doing it. Yeah. You're not thinking about what the pasta is going to do next and whether or not its character arc is being fulfilled.
Right.
So I
know where it's going.
I promise we'll get to your books, but I have one last food question.
No, it's not the last one, but it might be his last one, but it's not the last one.
So Katie last night said that you all were trying to come up with disgusting pizzas, and you kept trying, but everything you said sounded delicious.
Yeah, it's a sickness. I have a hard time coming up with gross food. I have a friend who he comes up with breakfast cereals that are just the worst thing I've ever heard of. But yeah, if I try to think of disgusting food, I always somehow make it sound good, and I don't know where that comes from.
That's a gift. Yeah, you should write menus.
Don't remind me. I actually did that for a short amount of time when I worked for a copywriter.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
They like just give you a thing and you had to make it sound good?
Yeah, well, you have to also make it pretty, but yeah, that's
Right.
yeah.
So what is the strangest, not necessarily best, but strangest, most out of the way thing that you've eaten?
Oh, I'd say it's probably a tie between crickets and snake.
Okay. I thought you were going to go like bison or something up there, but
No, bison's good.
yeah. And this is going to. Have you ever had giraffe?
No, I can't say I have.
If you ever go to South Africa, have giraffe if you can get it. They serve it in some restaurants over there. It's the most delicious thing you will ever put in your mouth. It's fantastic. I swear to God, it's fantastic.
Well, it's got to be better than crickets.
I'm willing to bet it is.
So, Clayton, I live under a rock. So, for EL's question here, the Hellfire Club, I see this all the time at Comic Cons. What is that? I have no idea.
It
Not
is
Hellfire
a it is a D&D
Oh, sure.
Yep. It's a D&D group in Stranger Things.
Okay.
But I bought the shirt specifically because I have a group that meets every other Sunday where we're actually playing regular adventures right now. So
Okay. This is not my question about food.
were the crickets candied? They were actually ground up and made into tortilla chips.
Interesting.
What's that?
They were
Okay. Well, the crickets.
yes.
I think I could eat crickets in it as a tortilla chip.
Yeah, it's just really mealy. It doesn't really have a flavor.
Yeah. So kind of like mushrooms.
Yeah.
And John says he's redacted the joke of me leaning into the camera. I'm leaning into the camera, John, to show interest. I'm leaning toward the person I'm talking to. It's an old journalism trick that we learned to bring people into the conversation. I didn't get right up in the camera like this. That would just be freaking creepy. All right. Books. Let's talk books.
Okay. No more
Oh,
crickets.
wait a minute. Do you use your cooking skills in your writing? I mean, do you ever talk? Do you ever like bring that into your books?
My friends are gonna tell you it depends. My characters don't usually eat feasts, but there are a couple of cannibal scenes.
You know, I was going to say, it looks from the cover of your books, it looks like they might need, kind of Soylent Green kind of cookbooks. But
Yeah. There is at least one scene where somebody's leg is basted and then fed back to the guy. So,
but at least you know how to do the basting properly, right? I mean, you cook over a slow flame and get the oil and everything evenly over. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, just be criminal if you didn't do that.
Exactly.
You've got to go with what you know, man. What book do you have in SPFBO this year?
This year it is Cold West.
Okay. Now the cover looks like, and the title, obviously, a Western, but I'm assuming you did something different. It's not a straight up Western.
Yeah, it's actually there's quite a bit of, well, it's subtle, but there is fantasy in it. The main character is what's known as a null, and he is able to do two things. He can reach through what's called the Empyrean and affect objects around him, and he can also nullify other magic that's directed his way.
Interesting.
How do you get magic into a Western world? I think we were talking about this last night. Westerns and magic.
It's a matter of how does it fit, and so there's a lot of I didn't really want to shoehorn it. So what I did was I went with a more subtle approach. These are gifts people have. They don't stand out. They're not used for a lot of things. The people that can do destructive things are usually recruited by this kind of overbearing church, and they're used as enforcers. Unfortunately, they were using that ability against the nulls. So it became this kind of conflict between the two, and that's what led to the current state of the world.
So what wins, magic or occult?
It's a toss-up when the book starts. It really is. Nobody really won.
Okay. So long as that happens, because I mean, if it were like Harry Potter or something, they would just forget that guns existed, and but in a Western, it's kind of hard to omit that.
Right.
Well, Harry Potter is also in England, so they don't really believe in guns anyway.
Stop, really? You'll stop again.
Exactly. Yes. It's a Western. I'd been watching stuff like Unforgiven, 3:10 to Yuma, and all that, and I had really wanted to write a Western, but I didn't want to write the run-of-the-mill Louis L'Amour Western. I wanted to do something more killing that word, more within my wheelhouse. So obviously I made it very weird.
So that's your wheelhouse, is weird?
Pretty
it's
much.
Not a bad place to be. I'm not judging. I'm just asking.
Yeah, weird, dark,
okay.
Borderline horror is really sort of my thing.
Yeah, I got that when I just want to read something in your About the Author page. I thought was pretty interesting on Amazon. So if everyone will excuse me for reading to you. Described as rich in bone-crunching violence and a grimly convincing sense of place and character. I mean, you got to kind of love bone-crunching violence. That pretty much tells you what you're getting when you open the package right there. How did you get to a place where you're writing bone-crunching violence? Should know. Should we call anyone?
It's fine. It's all in the past.
Okay. You've healed yourself. Excellent.
Statute of limitations is out.
You're right. It's partial experience, and it's partial, just a fascination with anatomy and fighting and all of that. I have Grey's Anatomy, which people use as a reference. I do the same thing, but I also watch a lot of, I used to watch UFC fights, boxing, anything I could get my hands on. And then just action movies. So you kind of get a feel for all that. And then if you've ever been in a fight or two, you get the idea of how exactly unlike an action movie a real fight is, how fast and brutal and painful it is, and how quick it's over.
We don't talk about Fight Club.
Right.
Yeah, that's one thing writing like fight scenes. The fight scenes I write are very short because I don't think two people flailing swords around at each other would be able to go that long at any intensity, and when you start adding magic into the mix, you probably shouldn't go that long. I think any fight that goes longer than, a few minutes is probably a lie.
Yeah. I can speak to the actual sword use. I know people that are in HEMA and people that are certified longsword fighters, and it seems like some of them really have an insane amount of endurance and the ability to just go for a long time.
There's a certification for longsword fighting?
Yeah, as far as I know. I believe Ed McDonald is actually certified in it.
Wow, I didn't know that was a thing. Like, I know like you can get CPR certified. I didn't know you could get longsword fighting certified. That's kind of cool, actually.
Right. Yeah, I believe it's through HEMA, as Connor's mentioned. So
yeah, man, you got to give us. You got to spell it out on first reference. There are clubs. Excellent.
Yep.
So I can tell you, friend of mine, another writer, he's a former MMA fighter. professional. He's 2-2, and then he sat there after he'd lost and said, "What am I doing with my life?" So he retired and had a wonderful wife and children instead, and just writes about it. But the one thing he said, he's like, fights are over in blink of an eye. Like a bar fight, the first person to land a hit wins. He's like, so these, when you see 17-page fights, he goes, no.
Yeah.
And then he's like, even when he's doing MMA, he's like, it's all about the emotions of you take a hit, you're like, okay, that hurt, but you're focused. And so he was lampooning a lot of people with their fight scenes. Again, take 6 pages, and he's like, no, it doesn't.
I don't think that's interesting to write, actually, because you're always trying to. You're always trying to be kind of clever and interesting about it. But what it sounds like you're doing, Clayton, is you're doing a lot of research into, okay, what's the point where I can hit this person's body to do, whatever type of damage it is you're looking to do, which is probably a little bit more interesting to write. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've sat back and I've tried to write big battle scenes, and without fail, I've been bored within a page. Myself writing them, I don't mind reading them, but as far as writing them, because at the end of the day, I've kind of been beat on enough that I know how a fight goes, and like you had mentioned, it's over pretty quick, and that's because you're either wounded or you lose the will to do it. It's just you got to be really angry to just keep beating on somebody, and I mean incredibly, insanely angry. So
Mike, you said your friend went from MMA to writing, which are two diametrically opposed kind of things, right? I mean, he just went way the other way. But if all the things that we go through as writers could be cast in a fight kind of sequence, we are all some tough mothers, because we get beat up a lot doing this, right? You're in your 5th SPFBO now. What kind of masochist are you?
Right. Obviously I enjoy pain, so
well, you're a writer, so yeah.
The first year was scary. Probably one of the scarier things I've ever done, just because you don't know what the outcome's going to be. You don't know what people are going to say about your work. You might have shown it to friends or family, or even, the odd beta reader or whatever. And that first year is terrifying. And but what it does is it's just like setting out queries. Eventually you build up that thick skin. You learn to, you get those calluses, and it's, after 4 or 5 years, it's just another part of the process. At least for me, it's more of getting my work out there, getting people's eyes on it, getting the reviews I need in order to push my career forward, or to push that book forward, or whatever. But the big thing is learning that thick skin, because if you don't have that, it makes the whole journey so much more difficult.
Oh, you're screwed. Yeah. You seem to have pretty decent results with getting reviews. Is there any specific way you go about that, or do you just have a fan base that helps you out?
I have just been incredibly fortunate. People seem to like, the people that do pick up the books, for the most part, seem to like them. I do have good friends that are willing to give it word of mouth. SPFBO is definitely, Mark Lawrence's involvement has made a huge difference as far as getting any of our work out there and getting eyes on it. So
what has I missed that?
Mark Lawrence's involvement overall, just kind of guiding the contest and making sure it's got the visibility it needs and everything. Mm-hmm. So, and then of course all the bloggers that are out there and putting in the work for absolutely free, it's got to be stressful for them as well. So.
Yeah, each judge starts out with what, 30 books?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can't imagine just looking at a stack of 30 books and going, oh my God, I've got to whittle this down, Yeah.
And you've got to have it done by this time period, and and some people are absolute machines. Some people can can just tear through those piles like nobody's business, and there are others who prefer to read, maybe the first 10 to 30%, and yeah. So it's a different process for everybody, but I can't imagine that the stress is any less for them than it is for the authors, because at the end of the day, they're putting their opinion out there, and they have to deal with whatever possible backlash is going to come out of that. So.
Oh yeah, it's like anything else, right? If they put on a contest like this and it falls apart or it doesn't, it's got to have credibility from the people who are taking part in it and the people who are kind of watching it all happen, right? And even if you look around at YouTube shows like this, or booktubers, whatever, because I'm sure this is not the first interview you've done probably this week, much less this last 6 months.
Yeah.
Right. So there's this whole kind of community around all this, right? So there has to be some legitimacy to the whole process, and that takes time and effort to make that happen. Absolutely.
Yeah. It's not as bad as it was. A decade ago, 15 years ago, there was definitely a stigma attached to self-publishing anyways. Sure. And now it's slowly approaching parity.
When did you get into self-publishing? When did you start?
Oh, good Lord. Probably 8 to 10 years ago, roughly.
What was your first book?
It was actually short stories. I was doing a bunch of offhand short stories, just trying to get attention on my work. Which did not work. It was a terrible idea. And, I have a whole backlog of stuff that should probably have never been put out there. My first actual book was picked up by a independent press, and it was Child of Nod. It was a YA novel. So, and that was about 8 years ago. So.
And
how did that independent press work out? I'm sorry, Mike. I see that you're
no, I just said nice. You're good. Keep asking questions. I'll just sit here and look pretty.
You look marvelous. For all you old people out there.
Right.
You get the Kelly Crystal reference.
That press collapsed, and then the book moved on to another small press, and that press as well kind of imploded, and then I just kind of finally gave up on those books, or that specific book being published, because it had been 8 years, and it was one of my first things, and it just, you look back on old work and you kind of go, so,
yeah.
So I'm kind of happy where I'm at right now. I wouldn't be opposed to moving into traditional if I ever had the opportunity. But
so, what part of the process do you just dislike the most?
Oh boy, rereads.
This show right now.
No, rereads are the worst. Having to just go back and constantly just reread, and catch everything. Because by the time you're done, you've probably read your own book 20, 30 times, and then that's when you start to hate the thing.
I have a question for you from my list here. What do I want to go with? We're going to go with this one. Are you a character first or are you a plot first writer?
Oh, yeesh, I don't know. I guess character first. Plot kind of follows what the character does, as far as I'm concerned. I like to write active characters where they affect the world around them instead of react to it. But at the same time, I'm also just an inveterate pantser. I every time I try to make a plot or an outline, it falls down and catches fire, and it doesn't work. So
I'm there with you. Right on. Solidarity. Anything else on your list there, Mike?
I do.
All right.
When you're writing your books, do you look like it's specific cultures and try to do riff on them, or do you try to make everything out like your own world?
Yeah, I tend to just grab whatever's in my head and throw it on the paper. If it starts to resemble something else, I'll kind of shape it in editing. But for the most part, it's less about where it is than it is about the message I'm trying to send out. Blackthorn specifically was about the perils of conflict and the cost of it, and just kind of what kind of people it produces and what kind of effect and outcome it produces. So stuff like the hardlands and the teeming forests and all that, those are all just no specific world. They're just what were in my head at the time, what seemed to fit the story. So.
And I just have to point out one quick thing to Tim here. How exactly are people who don't plan anything going to unite?
Well, we'll have a meeting.
It won't be a very well organized meeting.
No, it'll be terrible.
There will be no slides.
Oh, thank God, no PowerPoint.
How'd you get started in your writing journey? And do you have a job now, or are you just writing?
Yeah. So I started writing short stories, and I started that because I had grown up reading Stephen King and Clive Barker and those guys, and I'd really wanted to write. The things they wrote made me feel a certain way. There was still this wonder and this sort of mystery to the way their stories were constructed, and I wanted to be able to capture that and do the same thing. So that's what got me started writing. And then it just kind of expanded from there. One day I decided to try to take on a novel, and that worked out. So ever since, I've been forgetting how to write novels and trying anyways. That's just part of the process. As far as a job, though, my day job is I'm a developer for a fairly moderately sized retro gaming retailer. So,
nice. So that kind of lets you. I mean, I don't know about the actual job itself, but being around that kind of environment where a lot of people with imagination kind of at work in a place like that, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's very, it's relaxed. I can make my own hours, and there's no dress code or anything, but it's still very much corporate. And I wouldn't say that there's a lot of innovation going on, but there are definitely creative people there, and we get to do interesting things every now and then. So.
Never heard "make my own hours" and no dress code as being very corporate, but
Well, yeah, that's kind of the backbone of the place, though. When you dig down, what you see is the corporate machine underneath it. So
not like a cereal bar up against the counter or anything.
No.
Okay. So what's next for you? What's on your keyboard right now?
I am working on a secret project. I can't actually talk too much about it. So that is
okay. So if you can't tell us about the project, tell us why you can't tell us about the project.
I cannot tell you much about the project right now because it is not my property. So I'm working on another IP.
So you're doing work for someone else. Can you tell us what genre? We're going to play 20 questions with you.
Yeah. It's still grimdark.
Okay. Is it Katie Andrews?
Well, we're not going to ask you who it is. You don't know how to play this game, man.
I'm clear what this is. It's that's as much as I can tell you. It's grimdark. It's probably a series you're familiar with, and it's not my property, but I was granted permission to play in that.
Okay, so you're the only one writing it. It's not like part of an anthology or something like that. Someone's giving you permission to use their IP, and you're kind of running with it.
Yep.
All right. Do you have something percolating in the back of your head for your next solo project?
Yeah, I have been
struggling. Like one of the Beatles here or something, It's like, well, I can't tell you what I'm doing, John.
Right. My outside project is sci-fi. It's a soft sci-fi, so more like Star Wars, that sort of thing. But it's based on it's called Murder 9, and it's about a intelligent starship and kind of this family that gathers around it and their adventures.
Like Farscape.
Sure.
Have you seen Farscape,
I've seen parts of Farscape.
Mike?
One of my two favorite sci-fi series ever, that and Babylon 5.
Excellent. I've never seen Babylon 5. Farscape's brilliant.
What? Oh my God. I'm rewatching Babylon 5 for like the 6th time now.
Get a freaking life, man. Oh. Keep that pinky finger for your teacups and not the caps lock. Yeah. That's all right. You can yell at us all you want. You won't be the first. You won't be the last. It's all good. So are you working on them both simultaneously?
No, I am. I mean, I'm a little unhinged, but I'm not completely insane. So, I'm trying not to do that.
I do one thing, I do it very well, and then I move on. Yeah. Okay. For the old people, that was a quote from something. What was it a quote from?
Oh, Lord.
Points if you can tell me who said it.
I'm not as old as you, bro.
I do it very well, and then I move on. It's old. You got to go way back.
Like how far 70s, back?
Maybe early 80s.
Oh, geez.
Oh, wow. I should know that.
Yeah, that's before my time. Even I was around 10 years old in the early 80s. So.
And John, I can guarantee you that's not Monty Python.
No, it's from MASH.
Oh my goodness, God! How many times did I see that?
Right. Yeah.
Nobody in the chat. No takers on this.
Oh, nobody got it.
They're wondering what MASH is, bro. They don't remember life without a computer.
Oh my God! All right. Back in the day, we had to get up and turn the channel ourselves.
That's what children are for.
Right. Or my dad would just go change it.
That's why we had so many kids, because you never knew when one was going to be home and one wasn't.
Right.
All right. It was Major Winchester from one of the first episodes he was on when Hawkeye was telling him to, get your ass in gear and move along.
Oh, Connor, that's just mean. So, Clayton, I want to go back to your Discord group, the exclusive Discord group.
That's a good idea. Bring us back on topic. Well,
can you dish on any of your other finalists, anything they've done or said in there that is of interest?
But I'm sorry, Connor. Connor hates cheese.
I think Ed showed us a picture. I think he said it was RK, or was it when one of them bought an axe and felt the need to show everyone a picture of it.
Oh yeah, somebody did have
like a fireman's axe, which
I'm sorry, Connor's having a meltdown over the corner. Yeah, somebody bought an axe. I don't recall who. Yeah, and if I did, I probably shouldn't tell anybody, just in case.
We've been trying to get the dirt because we all feel so bad that well, especially Mike, because he was actually in SPFBO. I wasn't.
Well, for a very, very small amount of time.
Hey, your 3 seconds counts. I'm not judging. I'm not in it at all.
In my group, they did their first cuts. Guess who alphabetically's book came first? So I was the first one out in my group.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So my next book is going to start with Z, just in case.
10th place isn't bad.
Out of 30.
Yeah.
So I tied for 11th. That's what I'm going with.
There you go.
Although there were like 60 semifinalists. So I tied for 61st.
The bonus part is, though, Mike, you get a better draft pick next year, so it's okay.
Hey, there you go. So now we know. Wynn got the axe.
Oh, there you go.
Trim those 6 books to 3. My 6 books? Yeah, actually, and spell my name right. Come on, John, get on it. You're a writer. It's written right there on the damn screen. Rosary, good grief, man. Anyway, so what's the kind of vibe in the group? Because we're all just very jealous we don't get to be in a secret freaking Discord group.
It is a bunch of young people that get along very well, and then there's me.
How old are you?
I am 40.
No, I remember 40s. 40s were good years.
48 this year.
Yeah, well, give it a couple more years. Wait till you're making appointments and having to have someone pick you up for procedures every 5 years. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yes.
It doesn't get any better.
Yeah.
These are salad days in your 40s, man. Hang on to it.
I've realized that this year when they started sticking needles into my spine. So,
Yeah.
That's a good time.
Get injections in your knees and all that kind of stuff. We have really gone off topic. Just far and away from where we need to be.
So I'm going to try to bring us back a little bit.
Please do. I'm just going to drink this water.
Clayton, have you written any series, or are all of your books standalones?
I wrote 2 series. One of them is terrible. And that is the Balance series, and that was my first series. It was Child of Nod, Queen of Nod, and Goddess of Nod, and that was just an awful series. I kind of got shoehorned into that one, or pigeonholed, either way, however you want to put it. I had written the first book as a standalone, and it was fairly well received. And then the publisher kind of pushed, asking for 2 more books, and I caved, and I wrote them, and I didn't really know where the series was going because I had no plans to write anymore on that book. My other series is called Thieves Lyric. It's 2 books, and it's River of Thieves and Thieves of War, and those are satires of the fantasy genre, basically. So,
satires. Give us an example.
How do I give you an example of a satire?
I like satire, and I know it when I see it. I think I would just have a hard time writing it.
Sure. Yeah, and I had a little bit of the first book was very difficult because I had to rewrite a lot of the jokes 3-4 times before I finally got the right kind of vibe to it. But it follows a thief and his kind of a master thief and his cronies, and the heist they keep pulling off. The catch is that 3/4 of them were cursed to not die. So anytime they do die, they come right back, and all of that is kind of played for laughs. But there's pop culture references, and there's kind of riffing on stuff like Kavoth from Wiseman's or King Killer Chronicles, and there's a little bit of I think I spoof some hard magic in there, kind of making a joke at the expense of the idea that every magic system has to be hard, and why it has to have 4,000 rules, and just those sorts of things across the series.
So I'm writing a story right now with it's like a D&D campaign almost, but they are just the biggest losers ever. But they know it, right? I mean, they're drunks and they're just down in their luck. The thief has his leg turned around by a wizard, so he has like one leg that goes forward and one where the knee bends the other direction, so his shoes point in 2 different directions, right? That whole thing. So maybe I am on the right path. That's good to know.
So, do you play D&D by any chance, Clayton?
Yeah, I play every other Sunday. Right now, we're running Curse of Strahd. So,
is it a long time group?
It's a fairly new group, but yeah, it's been. I mean, not like years, but I think we've been playing together for about 6 months now.
Are you the DM or are you character?
No, I'm just a character.
Not just a character. There's no game if there's no characters.
Right. They had asked me if I wanted to DM, and I abdicated that responsibility immediately because it's bad enough that I'm writing books. So.
Do all your people playing in your group get kind of pissy with the DM?
No, actually, we get together. We get along pretty well. Everybody does.
So there's booze involved.
No.
Yeah. No. Okay. I just kind of assumed 40 you would have had booze involved.
No, we actually play at work. We play.
Oh, right. You play at work.
Yeah, so everybody's sober.
Oh, hold on. Let me recap. No dress code. Make your own hours. Play D&D at work, not corporate. I'm going to disagree with you on this for a long time because you just keep adding to the not corporate pile.
That's fair.
Is it after work, or tell me it's not during work?
No, it's actually outside hours on the weekend.
They just let you use the conference room.
Pretty much it.
Oh, cool. That's all right then.
So my next question for you is, do you have any favorite tropes that you like to use, or better yet, to subvert when you write?
I kind of like to pick on a little bit of everything. I don't really think about tropes when I'm writing, to be honest. I just write. And then if I see something that looks like it kind of fills a niche or maybe slides too close to, instead of a trope, maybe cliche, I pull that back. But for the most part, yeah, I don't really think about stuff like that. I just kind of throw it into the book as I go. And, ideally that's people will glom onto what they like about it. So
what's a good writing day for you look like?
I'll get done with work and come home, have dinner, kind of relax for an hour, and then sit down and write for 2 hours. And a very good writing day is about 2,000 words for me. So, and that's, consistent across the board. So, I'll take Sundays, sometimes Saturdays as well off. But that's typically my routine. And that's what keeps me disciplined and keeps the work flowing.
Push out a couple books a year?
Used to. I got really sick middle of last year, actually. And I've been having a little bit of trouble getting started on anything new. So it's just been, ever since I recovered, it's been kind of a fight to get going again. So
does it make it easier jumping back into that? I mean, with and specifically, I'm talking about this story that you're writing with somebody else's IP. Does it make it easier when you're kind of doing that because you have all of that pre-created kind of backstory to fall back on, and then you can just create a little something new off to the side?
Yep. It's definitely sort of a like you mentioned, having all that framework there, that world building, even some preset characters it makes it a lot easier to just jump in and go, okay, this is my story. As long as I stick within this framework and these systems, I'm good to go. And then I can just, blow out words and ideally be done in a couple months. So, and that'll, I mean, the plan is to have that done and then that'll loosen me up for other work. So, because right now it feels very much like I'm constricted. So,
how much time do you spend on marketing of your books, and how much do you hate it?
Oh God. I loathe it.
Enough, and I hate all of it.
Yes, exactly. I loathe it. So I rarely spend time marketing my books. I might shoot a buy my book post out every couple of months. Most of the time, what I'll do instead is shout about other people's books. I'll make a thread about these are the books you should buy, and that seems to satisfy the requirements. Let's see here. Writing routine. What software?
Yeah, Akari, welcome. I don't think we've seen your name before. Thanks for typing in the chat and joining us. Appreciate it. And what's your answer there, Clayton?
My writing routine I kind of outlined earlier, which is just, sit down a couple of hours a day and try to crank out about 1,500, 2,000 words. As far as software, I just use Word. I'm very boring. I don't use Scrivener or anything. I don't write anything out of order. I just write. Do I listen to? Yeah, I listen to a lot of rock and a lot of metal. So, and usually the louder the better.
So I wasn't going to go here, but as you mentioned that, John says, what are some of the? We're not going to get best musical albums ever, but what are a couple albums that you'll throw on if you want to get into the writing zone?
I'm a big fan of In Flames, and their new album is really good. It is, oh Lord, the name just escaped me. Yeah, their newest album is very good. Foregone, that's what it's called. And then I also like, for mellow stuff, I'm a big fan of Stevie Ray Vaughan, so I'll listen to a lot.
Stevie Ray Vaughan is mellow for you?
Yeah.
Right on. Okay.
Yeah.
I've heard Stevie Ray Vaughan called many things. Mellow has never been among those things, but
yeah, I love blues. I got to see B.B. King in concert. I miss Stevie. He died right before I got the chance to go. So yeah, so for me, blues is very mellow, because most of what I listen to is very hard metal.
Oh, okay. Like speed metal kind of stuff.
Thrash, yeah.
Yeah.
Swedish Death, yeah.
That explains a lot of why you write what you write.
So, and Katie, we just have to say that they can't have SPFBO without Clayton, entering and making it to the semifinals or finals. It's a rule at this point.
No.
There's only been 9 of them. He's been in over half of them. He is the Tom Brady of SPFBO.
I haven't cheated though.
You can use that on the back of one of your books. The Tom Brady of SPFBO.
Maybe Patrick Mahomes. Tom Brady's old.
Yeah.
Tom Brady has 7, my friend. Don't get me started, boy. It'll piss me off.
Would I go back? I've been finalist twice. I'm going to say probably not. I think I'm done with SPFBO for now. As much as I enjoy the process, and it really is kind of fun for me meeting new people and reading new stuff and kind of going through the whole thing. I just feel like I should be aging out of it at this point and trying new things. So. That's entirely possible. Yeah.
All right. Anybody else got anything for Clayton?
Let's see. So the age-old question, what advice would you give to a new writer other than stop and run away?
Don't do it.
Just start drinking heavily.
Your life choices, young guy.
I'm gonna say probably the best advice I can give anybody, and it's the same advice that I was always given, which is read as widely as possible. Good, bad, doesn't matter. Doesn't, especially outside of your genre, because that makes a huge difference in the way you approach your stories, your prose, everything. And the other thing is just, on the days you can, the days you feel good about it, sit your butt in the chair and write. It doesn't have to be every day, and if you're not feeling well, don't do it. But yeah, sit down and write, because that's how you get better. You read and you write.
Yep.
That's kind of the beauty of being an indie who's not writing to pay the mortgage, right? Is that if you miss a week, don't beat yourself up over it. Just move on and do what you got to do and live your life.
Yeah, and I mean that's the dream, is someday that I'm not working and writing development code and all I get to do is write stories. But until then.
But writing stories is work too, right? Because you have all the marketing portion of it. You've got to get your name out. You got to sit around with freaking Tweedledee and Tweedledum here, me and Mike, and do shit like this. So there's an element of work involved.
Yeah, but you know what? It's work I love, so that makes a difference. So,
we've had several people ask, "What's your favorite thing to write?" Katie twice, El Montague.
What was my favorite story to write? God, probably my solo stuff was probably Cold West, and my joint stuff was probably Norrell's Good Groans. I got a lot of short stories in there, and probably my favorite short story is either Mother Time, Father Death, or Hounds, which was just recently in Grimdark magazine. So.
And El Montague goes, "Why Grimdark?" And is there Is there a rom-com coming from you soon?
Oh no, but man, I love rom-coms, but I could never write one.
What's your favorite one?
Probably While You Were Sleeping. I've seen that thing, God, I don't know, over a dozen times.
Have you ever seen, if I can throw this out to you, Gross Point Blank with John Cusack?
It's one of my favorite movies of all time.
Absolutely. Easily in the top 5. Thank you. I'm glad. My wife thinks I'm the only one, right? Because, I kind of dig John Cusack. But yeah, Gross Point Blank's a fantastic film. If you haven't seen it, go watch it.
Yeah, absolutely. Seconded. It's any John movie for that matter. I mean, he's an amazing actor.
So what have you been doing with yourself? I'm a contract killer. Oh, does that come with dental? Yeah.
10 years. So
a grimdark rom-com? Yeah.
I think you want to talk to Crystal Matar. So
they can smooch while they're turning a leg on a spit.
Right. But yeah, why dark? It's cathartic. It's it's therapeutic. And I get to say things other genres wouldn't allow me to say. As far as maybe that's not wholesome enough for high fantasy, or maybe that's a little too insulting for and it's not that it's censorship or anything goofy like that. It's just that if I want to say that religion is horseshit and so is the monarchy, I can say that. So,
I think in that genre you might be put upon if you didn't say something like that.
I don't know about that. I mean, I've seen a fair amount of both. It coming both ways. People will write a lot of hope into their grimdark, and that's fine too. So
I had a lady write to me once, and she said she kind of liked one of my books, but the swearing put her off, and I was like, "The fuck is she talking about?" And I went back. I think I used the word damn or hell. I forget which. It probably would have been damn, because obviously in this fantasy world there would be no construct of hell. But yeah, it's like that. That's what put it one word doesn't even register. Whatever,
Oh, I had way many more poor choices just in words.
Oh, yeah. I think we counted the word fuck in one of our books once, and it was like 115 or something. So it's
people are weird.
Yeah, people are weird. That's what it comes down to.
Clayton, I have an off-the-wall question, which I know will shock Roe that I would have such a thing.
Like writing in first person, Mike?
But you get to intrude in Connor's world for a day and sabotage his next book that he's writing in the Four Mercies quadrology. What do you do to just really throw him off from his story? What do you change in the book?
Ooh, I don't, that's a good question. It's not really something I would consider. I don't know if I could do that to Connor. No. Yeah, I could. I mean, I could smear his keyboard with cheese. That's about it.
So Daniel's question. Good.
Yeah, I responded to that, and I don't know. You got me. Yo, I'm busted. I don't know what the word was, man.
Oops.
Everybody gets a hug at the end. Or everybody goes to therapy. Either way.
That's so nice. It's nice to have people show feelings. I had a feeling once.
Yeah, but in Connor's book, if they hug each other, that just means they have a knife in their free hand.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Oh, okay. Well,
so what are you going to do when you win? You're going to plot your takeover of the author world when you can put the SPFBO 9 winner tag on your book?
I got the feeling I'm not winning, but that's fine. It actually doesn't bother me, and I'm kind of expecting somebody with better writing chops than me to win.
Okay, we've had like what 7 of the 10 on the show already, Mike.
I think 6.
6. All 6 of them have said they're not going to win, and they all know this for a fact.
Oh yeah.
The odds
Yeah,
right now are that one of you is lying to us.
Yeah, it's probably Wend.
Oh, she hasn't been on yet, so.
Yeah. Well, that's
Next week.
that's why. Yeah.
EL has a good question. Has SPFBO given you a sales spike? Because that's actually an important question.
It's giving me a rank spike, but I don't know about sales. My royalties seem to have kind of stayed fairly even on that book. But my rank for Cold West, for horror westerns, it's consistently in the top 100 to 50 now on Amazon.
Nice.
So, which makes me, that makes me happy. I like seeing that. So, because it's right up there now with Cormac McCarthy and guys that are actual authors. So.
The theory is the person who doesn't appear on this channel will win. You know, if that happens, we've got a sales pitch for next year. And then anybody who does show up on this channel, it's going to be kind of like, you've just killed yourself with this. You're done.
So since we have so many of you in the SPFBO finalists in the chat, and Clayton, you're here, pressure Morgan. I don't think that would work.
Where is Morgan?
He's MIA.
He showed up for one of these chats. But yeah.
Was it just a picture of his dog?
Yes. Oh, he showed up in the chat comments for Ed's.
Yeah. He's gonna win.
Your assignment, all of you, is to talk about something other than food in your secret squirrel group. Talk about something writing related. On a 50-word essay from all of you next week. Legos? Is Morgan a Lego guy?
I don't remember.
Yeah, right on.
Rose excited.
I have new ones coming. They should be here Monday. I'm very excited, actually.
I have several of the Star Wars sets, so yeah.
Yeah, it's because I'm old enough now to be able to actually afford Legos, so it's like, yay. I just get the big eye roll from the wife. It's like, yeah. It's like, hey, I'm not drinking and injecting heroin or anything like that.
Well, this is the same argument I've had before. Is I have pretty much zero vices. I quit smoking about 6 months ago, and so that leaves my Magic games and Legos. So those are my vices now.
Sorry, I could just see you standing over somebody in an air traffic control tower. Oh, pick up a bad week to give up Legos. It's an airplane reference again, yes, for all you young people who haven't seen
it.
Okay, so our next SPFBO finalist, the poor person who was foolish enough to come on our show, is going to be Wen Raven next week on Thursday. And before that, we have Pamela K. Kinney, who is a horror writer, and we have Greg Wonderland. Sorry, I can pronounce words. So make sure you come back next week and abuse us in the chat, because that's why we do this.
And the week after Wend, we have R.K. Ashwick. Is he our last SPFBO finalist?
No. Then we have Jacqueline Hagan is our last SPFBO finalist.
Oh, right. Okay.
Unless, of course, Morgan wants us to shock the world and come in on our show.
Maybe he's just waiting for everybody else to go.
That could be. See how much abuse they get and see if he wants to do it. Yeah.
Right. All right. Cool. Well, Clayton, thank you very much for wasting another hour of your life that you could have spent writing and doing something productive.
No. Well, thank you for having me on, guys.
So hopefully this marketing wasn't too terrible for you.
No, this was way less painful than most of it. So,
and we're still hoping for Ed's suggestion that there ends up being 10 winners all tied for SPFBO 9.
Oh, I really hate that. I absolutely hate the thought of that. It's a cheat.
Yep.
So, okay, well, I think we've come to the point where we all wave awkwardly and wait for this to finally end.
I'll have a lovely weekend.
So we're